1995, Pizza Hut is the world's largest pizza chain, pulling in $5.2 billion a year and controlling over a quarter of the US market. Their iconic red roofs are known worldwide. 30 years later, sales are down $314 million, 250 stores are scheduled to be closed, and now the parent company has been forced to sell their once beloved Golden Goose. But how does the pioneer of the pizza industry collapse so completely they had to literally cut the business in two pieces? The first clue is hiding in a seemingly trivial spot that would define the chain for decades: an 8-letter sign. In 1958, two college students, Dan and Frank Carney, notice an opportunity. Pizza is still relatively new to Wichita, Kansas, but the few restaurants selling it are already popular with college students. So the brothers borrow $600 from their mother and prepare to open a small restaurant near the state university. But before they can open, they need a name. The sign above the building has room for only 8 letters, 5 of them have to spell pizza, so that leaves 3. The brothers look at the building, and in their minds, it was kind of like a shack, or maybe even a hut. So Pizza Hut was born. Opening day was only 2 weeks away, and neither brother knew how to make pizza, so they started searching for someone who could teach them. Dan later recalled, he said he had some great pizza. His name was John Bender. We had him over, he made pizza, and we liked it. We said if you bring the recipe, you can have a full-time job here with whatever time you can get off the airbase, and a third of the business. He did, and it went from there, and that's where we got our pizza. Now the company had a name and a recipe, but they knew almost nothing about the pizza business or how to market one. So everything is kept simple. That simplicity would become Pizza Hut's greatest competitive advantage. 2 sizes, a limited selection of toppings, fresh dough made in-house. This simple business model allowed the brothers to rapidly learn the ins and outs of the business, improve the product, and design a restaurant people actually enjoyed visiting. Word of a great new pizza place soon spread. But one successful restaurant wasn't enough for the brothers. You can see their ambition in a handwritten work schedule from the first Pizza Hut, which Dan Carney proudly notes already included plans for location number 2. 6 months later, they open it. Within a year, there were 6 franchises. However, these early restaurants exposed an underlying issue. Every new company-owned location required another building, more equipment, and more employees. The brothers simply didn't have enough money to continue expanding that way. Certainly not if they wanted to build thousands of franchises. So they needed to find a way to grow using someone else's capital. Fortunately, Dan was already familiar with the concept of franchising. Dan had studied the franchise models used by companies like McDonald's and KFC. He had even wanted to write his master's thesis on franchising until the university steered him towards collective bargaining, a subject considered much more important at the time. So in 1959, Pizza Hut begins franchising. 9 years later, Pizza Hut has more than 300 locations. Now, maintaining consistency across this many businesses was becoming troublesome. In the early years, Dan literally drives a van from restaurant to restaurant, delivering everything from tomato sauce to toothpicks. The workload gets so ridiculous that Frank develops an allergic reaction to the spices. Their distribution system was beginning to break down. If they were going to continue expanding across America, every restaurant needed reliable access to the same ingredients, equipment, and supplies. So in 1968, 3 of Pizza Hut's longtime suppliers joined forces to create Franchise Services, Inc. And now the infrastructure was ready to scale. Frank and Dan also realized not only should the ingredients be the exact same, but the appearance of the business should be the exact same. It needs to be instantly recognizable to customers regardless of its location. So the following year, they made their brand image consistent across all stores. In 1969, Pizza Hut introduces the standardized building with the large sloping red roof. The same year, the company would also go public. In 1971, just 13 years after the $600 loan, Pizza Hut is the biggest pizza chain on the planet, bigger than every other competitor combined. In 1977, the Carney brothers sell the company to PepsiCo for more than $300 million. Frank Carney stays on as president until 1980, where he would resign. The founders had learned the business from working inside the restaurants. PepsiCo would approach it from a different angle, which was more based on spreadsheets and market opportunities. Its marketers worried that the brand was becoming dated. Some even suggested abandoning the iconic red roof altogether. Upper management was also concerned about the size of the buildings, as they were becoming expensive to maintain. At the same time, the delivery pizza business was booming. Market analysts saw Domino's as a major competitor, and despite Pizza Hut being a large dine-in restaurant, not specifically built for delivery, they chose to go on the attack. So in 1986, they began aggressively investing in the delivery sector. By 1991, roughly 3,000 locations offered delivery, and the company was openly challenging Domino's in national advertising. Pizza Hut spokesman Roger Rydell even celebrated the campaign for directly taking on the leader in pizza delivery. Upper management was no longer content just owning the dine-in part of the business, it wanted Domino's spot too. With the delivery section of the business growing, a new situation had emerged. Pizza Hut's Senior Vice President of Marketing, Bob Perkins, acknowledged that you cannot have one asset that is flat or growing very slowly and have the entire company growing very rapidly. He was talking about dine-in. Pizza Hut was succeeding in delivery while its traditional restaurant business was beginning to stall. Marketing law number 1. Know your competitive advantage. People don't hire you, buy from you, or recommend you because you're indifferently average and well-rounded. They do it because you're exceptional at something. Seth Godin, author and marketing expert. Pizza Hut had spent decades building its restaurants around the dining experience. The buildings, dining rooms, and operating model were designed for people to stay and eat. Domino's was built around something completely different: small locations, fast production, and delivery. Pizza Hut franchisees could offer delivery, but it wasn't specialized for it. Despite this, management continued investing heavily to further compete with Domino's. With the dine-in portion losing momentum, management needed an idea to get people coming back through their doors. They needed something exceptional. So in 1992, Pizza Hut rolls out its buffet with unlimited pizza, pasta, and salads. Because nothing says exceptional like a mediocre buffet. And surprisingly enough, it works. For about 12 months. Pizza Hut's dine-in sales grow in 1993, and PepsiCo specifically credits the buffet for part of that growth. But by the end of the year, that growth is already beginning to soften. Still, from management's perspective, the buffet had worked. It had given Pizza Hut that much-needed boost of traffic. It had also taught them a lesson that would become increasingly dangerous. When growth slows, launch something new. Marketing law number 2. Business is a long-term game. Any damn fool can put on a deal, but it takes genius, faith, and perseverance to create a brand. David Ogilvy, the father of modern advertising. In 1995, Pizza Hut proves just how powerful something like this could be. Stuffed crust launches in March, mozzarella cheese is folded directly into the edge of the dough, turning the part of the pizza people would normally throw away into the selling point. It becomes a phenomenon. Stuffed crust adds roughly $300 million in sales by the end of 1995. But the boost, it doesn't last forever. By the end of 1997, Pizza Hut had endured 8 consecutive quarters of declining same-store sales. That same year, PepsiCo spun off its restaurant division into the newly independent Tricon Global Restaurants, which would eventually become Yum Brands. 2 years later, they would add the Big New Yorker to their repertoire. It produced another immediate hit. Same-store sales jumped 9%. By the 2000s, occasional innovation and odd advertising became a permanent strategy. The Insider, the P-Zone, a Mikhail Gorbachev commercial, 4 for All, delivering pizza to space, dipping strips, pasta, Wing Street, dinner boxes. Each one gives Pizza Hut a new ad to run, but together they create a much harder question to answer. What exactly is a Pizza Hut? Marketing law number 3. Every added product weakens the brand. When you market to everyone, you market to no one. Common marketing proverb. Was it a family dining restaurant, a delivery company, or whatever new product happened to be advertised that month? Pizza Hut had created plenty of reasons to buy today, but no lasting reason to choose it over the competition in the long term. In 2014, after again experiencing 8 consecutive quarters of declining same-store sales, management was forced to respond. In November, Pizza Hut launched with a massive rebrand, the flavor of now. Pizza Hut CEO David Gibbs calls the changes the most significant we've made in our history. It included new crust flavors, new sauces, new toppings, sriracha, pretzel crust, and even curry. Despite the attention, same-store sales kept struggling. With that result, the CEO of the parent company of Yum Foods, Greg Creed, stepped in. We obviously have not been happy with the performance of the relaunch of Pizza Hut. He would also go on to identify Pizza Hut's biggest problems, the first being positioning. So 3 years later in 2017, after a 7% same-store sales decline in the US, Yum throws an emergency $130 million at the company for new technology, equipment, and advertising. Creed would say this is a win-win agreement that importantly includes explicit alignment on aggressive investment in our digital delivery-centric strategy, and in short, will make it easier for customers to get a better pizza. The executives had identified positioning as the problem. Yet in 2017, the rescue package focused heavily on technology, equipment, and digital delivery. That same year, Domino's global sales would pass Pizza Hut's for the first time, $12.2 billion to $12.03 billion. Eventually, the question becomes how much longer can Pizza Hut continue with this strategy? In 2020, NPC International files for bankruptcy with nearly $1 billion in debt. Approximately 300 Pizza Huts are marked for closure. Now, one over-leveraged franchisee could be dismissed as an operator problem. Then, in 2024, another major operator, EYM Pizza, enters bankruptcy after a public fight with Pizza Hut over declining sales, fees, and the direction of the brand. The two sides blame each other, but the market provides a verdict neither side can dispute. In 2015, Pizza Hut led Domino's by 2.7 market share points. By 2025, Domino's led Pizza by 11.3. That's a 14-point swing in just 10 years, and the losses wouldn't stop there. In 2025, Pizza Hut's worldwide system sales fell another $314 million, while US same-store sales dropped another 5%. Then in 2026, Yum announced plans to close another 250 underperforming US restaurants. At this point, Yum Brands was no longer trying to repair the brand, they were simply looking for someone who might buy it. In June of 2026, Yum agrees to sell Pizza Hut through two transactions worth a combined $2.7 billion. Long Ridge Capital will acquire the business outside mainland China for approximately $1.5 billion. Yum China will acquire the Chinese operation for another $1.2 billion. The strange thing is, Pizza Hut in China is growing. The chain has expanded to more than 4,500 restaurants there with localized menus and a much stronger casual dining position. In 2025, sales in China increased 4% and operating profit rose 19%. If convenience had made dine-in worthless everywhere, China should have failed as well. But it didn't. And the same pattern was appearing across America. By 2026, approximately 155 Pizza Huts were still trying to preserve or recreate the classic experience, with red roofs, checkered tablecloths, vinyl booths, arcade games. One major franchisee says some of its classic restaurants are among the strongest performers in its portfolio, with some customers traveling hours to visit them. And online, customers keep asking for the same experience. Someone on Reddit posted old school Pizza Hut. That's the Georgia Pizza Hut. Was just there 2 days ago with my daughter. It's amazing there. I can tell the location by the steep hill in the third picture and the small parking lot in the first picture. Well, thanks for sharing the location. Now my wife wants to drive the 2-something hours to go get her nostalgia fix. Good lord, that's close to where I live. Gotta go now. There's one in my town that still has its original Pizza Hut. Amazingly enough, the whole town and even the town hall refuses to let it get torn down, sold, or replaced, and is still running as it always has been since. So clearly the demand for the experience was still there, just too many Pizza Huts had simply stopped making the building worth entering. Now for the real question. Could management have saved Pizza Hut and all of the locations? Absolutely not. Consumer habits do change, delivery now matters, and some red roof locations no longer made financial sense. A better strategy would have been the same thing Dan and Frank had done decades earlier. Go inside the restaurants and listen to the customers. Find out which locations were working, close the weak ones, modernize the strongest, simplify the menu and improve food and service consistency. Delivery and takeaway could expand Pizza Hut's reach, while the restaurant experience would remain the reason people chose it. Instead, Pizza Hut spent decades chasing growth through new products, and the simplest question became increasingly difficult to answer: why Pizza Hut? Now, if you like this video, hit the subscribe button and check out our course below. At its height, Pizza Hut knew exactly what its purpose was and who it served. At its worst, they were simply a company trying to serve everyone and stay relevant. And I suppose that it's true, you can't out Pizza the Hut, because it wasn't an outside force that brought down this giant, it was Pizza Hut itself.